I just had to catch you up on my mental state, which is obviously not great.
I mean, what else is new?
Anyways.
How was Florida?
Florida was fun. Florida was very geriatric. We were eating at 4:30 at night, eating dinner. No, it was very fun, though. I had a good time. It was nice to be warm. That was mostly it. Like, I enjoyed being warm again. I obviously was hiding from the sun, so I didn't really get a tan like I had anticipated getting. But that's okay. That's all right. We're fine. It was great to see my Nana. She turned 91. She's still kicking. She's doing great. So it was really fun. It was good. It was nice to spend a week with my mom without the rest of the family. So it was good. It was nice. It was
some quality time. That's nice.
Yeah. How about you? How was your weekend?
My weekend was good. One of my friends from home came to visit. She said, Nicole, I feel like it's finally time for me to start watching Drive to Survive, and I would love to watch it with you. And I said, my bread and butter.
Say no more.
Say less. Let's start it.
Big month for us to be getting some converts, huh?
We're indoctrinating a lot of people this month. We cruised through 4.5 seasons.
Obsessed.
Or 3.5 because we were on the 4th season. And it was so funny. We were like out to dinner and Maggie just turns to me and she goes, we have to go home. I have to see Pierre win his first race.
It's incredible.
It's coming up. You know it is. And just like Liz, her first follow was Pierre.
We
were sitting in the wine bar and Carly goes, okay, who do you think Maggie's like favorite person's going to be? And I was like, I mean, I think down the line, I think it's going to be Yuki, but I think
that's what
starting out of the gates, I think it's going to be Pierre. And Carly was like, really? You think it's going to be Pierre? And I was like, yeah, or Carlos. And
Pierre just like, I feel like they do give him a decent amount of coverage in the first couple seasons, so he really is like there. He like gets you right away.
Yeah, he is also like one of the main, like him, Carlos, and Danny, I feel like, and then Gunther, I feel like are like the main characters of the first like 2 seasons.
Yes, yeah.
And you really get a lot of detail on them.
Yeah.
So it was no surprise. And then she was like crying over Antoine and like Jules. And she's like, I don't even know these people. Like, why am I crying so much?
And then like, she would cry. Bitch, welcome.
She would cry when they won. And then she would be like, I would be in the bathroom or like grabbing something from the back of the apartment. And I would just hear her be like, oh my God, no. And it was just like so funny to experience someone watching it for the first time.
It's the best. I know. Well, Liz just met Yuki, or like she's in it. She hasn't watched the new season yet because now her husband, Rob, is like having FOMO. And so he's finally starting to watch and he won't let her start the new season until he catches up so that they can watch together. So we're in a little holding pattern, but she texted me the other day and she was like, do we like George's girlfriend? And I was like, we're obsessed with Carmen. And she was like, thank God, because I just stalked her Instagram and I literally want to be her. And I was like, yeah, well,
welcome to the
like,
club.
Now you're on the wags, like you're in it. Like you're in it. So it's great. I'm obsessed with this for us.
Yeah, I love to just have that experience. And
But she did meet Yuki and now she's like, I think Yuki might be my favorite. So I like see that coming. Now I'm like, when people start watching, I'm like, just wait, there's people that you're gonna get to know.
Yeah, I was like, don't get too attached to anyone because by the time season 5 rolls around, we're gonna be all over the place.
It's all over the place. It's all different.
So
I know. Well, she really liked K-Mag for a while. I think she still does. Well, obviously he's back now, so she's happy about that. But like, they also like really highlighted Grosjean and K-Mag for the first couple seasons
because again,
she got like. Yeah, she got like very attached to them. But
no, okay. Grosjean was the fucking worst though. He was
he was the
bad. Worst. I was just like, he got to retire a hero.
Literally, and thank God.
Like it's fine. Like I'm happy for him, and I'm super glad that he survived that horrific crash. But it's also like, bro, he was going out with nothing but L's across the board.
Literally nothing but L's, like L's only.
And then he got to go off into the sunset
as the Phoenix
and not like as a loser.
The man on fire. I'm literally like,
it's just so
best case scenario for him.
Literally.
Like watching it back to him, like he was so bad. Like he was so, I like cannot believe it took them that long to replace.
I know.
Him, honestly.
Like
it took so long. I was like, what's happening? Like, why is it taking this long?
And obviously they had like car issues and like engineering issues as well. But like Grosjean crashed like so
every
much.
Single race. Like
he had it in neutral at the pit stop that one time and they were gonna score points and then he like whiffed it and then it was just like there were so many opportunities for him to like prove his value at Haas and he just literally like shit the bed every
time. And then like that one season, was it season 1 maybe, when they didn't do that bad, but they didn't do great, but he crashed that day and then Gunther throws like a barbecue for everyone and he just doesn't come. And Gunther just starts shitting on him.
Well, yeah, because he didn't deserve to be at the barbecue.
It was like so funny. Yeah, watching it back with like new eyes is like very eye-opening. Like it was like really very exciting to like watch it back and I'm like, oh my God. Like it's so weird. It was very strange to watch it all back.
Yeah, because I haven't watched it in obviously a long time.
Yeah.
And so it's just funny to like see it through a fresh pair of eyes and like her asking questions and like not knowing all of the lore and being able to be like, fun fact and like yeah, it was just really great. So that was so my weekend.
I love that. I love that we had like parallel weekends like a month apart.
Yeah.
So fun.
Perfect. I mean, it's you and me, so what else?
What else is new? Not a lot. All right. Well, first of all, finally, welcome everyone to TG1F, an F1 podcast with Kate and Nicole. I am Kate.
I am Nicole.
And we are your hosts. And this is our show where we talk about F1 and everything else that we want to. Clearly. Anything and everything else. Let's get into it. Tell me what's going on, Nicole.
Well, it's been a pretty low-key week, I feel like.
I know. I feel like these, like, I hate when they're so long in between races. I'm like, what's happening? It's so boring. Last week was not boring, but this week, very boring.
Yeah, I feel like we have had a pretty quiet week in terms of news and especially, like, content from the drivers this week. It was a holiday weekend as well, so like everyone was gone on long weekends for Easter, and so it was kind of quiet. No one was really working. So, I mean, really, there's some salacious stuff that's like kind of just like in the news, and
salacious, fun.
Well, I mean, I think it's pretty salacious that Liberty Media is gunning for 25 races on the calendar next year.
Like, that's half the year.
Yeah.
That is half the weekends of the year.
Yeah.
Or it's one race less than half.
Yeah. It's honestly a little psychotic, I think, but money talks, baby. And if they can fit Vietnam on the calendar, then I think they're going to do so. So that's like what they're gunning for right now, is to add Vietnam. I don't think that is the right idea. But again, I am not head of Liberty Media with billions of dollars on the line. I know it's crazy, right? But to tie into that, pretty interesting, we saw Russell at some tennis tournament this weekend. I don't remember which one it was. It was some open, I think, in Monaco. I think. Again, I know bare bones about this. I'm not a huge tennis person, so like I picked up the gist of it.
You were like, it was tennis somewhere and he was there and they were playing tennis and that's it.
So he got caught in a conversation with one of the players, and I'm going to butcher this because I do not know how to say his name. It's
Novak Djokovic.
Djokovic?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think.
Great. Yeah, so he's in a conversation with Djokovic, and he says, Melbourne's a killer. I mean, it's probably taken a week to come back in terms of jet lag. We were meant to go to China next week, so we've actually got a couple of weeks off, then Azerbaijan, and then the season really kicks off, then Miami. To which Djokovic responds, and calls out the F1 bosses as he questioned why the calendar was split up and not arranged in continent order. Great question. Russell apparently smiled back and suggested he and the other F1 stars had already held talks over the same issue. So this is apparently
I did hear something else about that.
Okay.
And I don't know what it was, and I don't know where it was, and so I could be making this up. Maybe I dreamed it. Who knows? But I saw something somewhere. This is starting off really good.
We're citing our sources.
Like, someone said somewhere it was written on something. I
saw it with my eyes. I heard it with my ears. I don't know.
Something like that. But apparently they're looking at trying to reorganize the calendar so that it does go more like continent by continent. It probably won't happen until like 2035 just because of contracts. Yeah. And it's like, you know, they have a contract with COTA to hold the Austin Grand Prix the same weekend for the next like 7 years. Like they have to like, they have all these contracts that are so far out that like the next time they'd be able to like, I think the next time all of them are kind of would be around 2035, where they can like then start planning it and then talking to tracks about like slotting them in a way that makes the most sense. So I think it's like, not that they just don't care, but like there's just been such long-standing contracts, and then other like tracks come into play and they have to like slot them in somewhere, and then like where it doesn't overlap with other races. So hopefully we will see that happen. But I mean, I'm imagining obviously that the drivers have talked to people about it and there's like ongoing conversations, because it just doesn't make any sense. Yeah. Even like not even just from like an economic standpoint or like a climate standpoint, but like for the drivers, like can you imagine having to go to that many different time zones so often? Yeah. And like having to like drive 300 miles an hour. Well, don't worry, because Carlos has some really great tips for them. Don't worry. I was like, what did Carlos do? No, you're right. He has really great tips for jet lag. Jet lag. So I was going to go to Ireland in a couple weeks. I was going to pull out some of Carlos's tips and tricks and like document it on our story. Be like, I'm doing light therapy right now so that I stay awake. But I'm actually just gonna sleep, take 2 Benadryls and drink 2 glasses of wine and pass the fuck out for my night flight. That's the type of flight where you should be sleeping on it. That's like transcontinental, like you do sleep on those types of flights. Yeah, and it's only like a couple hours, and it's overnight. It was like, it's not like during the day. Right. So I won't do that. But I was like, how funny would it be if I just like... Also, like, I mean, TBD, like, wherever, maybe Nick and I will go to Australia for our honeymoon next year, and I'll pull out all of Carlos's tips and tricks, and I'll just follow the exact thing that he did, except I'll be in my business class seat, or my fucking economy seat, not being able to just go to the bar and chat with colleagues to keep myself awake. Well, you could do on your flight to Ireland because you want to sleep. You could do all the opposite things of Carlos' suggestions because you do want to catch some Z's on the flight. I am going to do the opposite, which is drug myself. So we'll be doing Benadryls and a glass of red wine. The Kate was out special. Literally, it works every time. Like, it works like a charm. And I'm not going to tell you, like, consult your doctor maybe first, and like don't do what I do, but it does work every single time. You just pop a couple bennies. Get one of those like half bottles of red wine that they give you on the planes. Get that immediately. Like, get that stat. Like, tell them when you sit down, I'm gonna want that, so that they give it to you like right away. Down the hatch, you're out in 20 minutes. She's asleep before the plane even takes off. Literally. When me and Nick went on our Europe trip the other year, that's what I did. I was out. Like, I do not remember taking off. I don't remember the flight, but I woke up about half hour before we landed, bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, no jet lag because it was just morning, and it was perfect. I had the best time. So that's what I'm going to do again. It really does. It works like a freaking charm.
So Kate is the opposite of Carlos in the influencing space, where she's going to teach you how to fall asleep on flights and still avoid jet lag because you will have just been asleep the whole time.
You'll be asleep the whole time. You're just sleeping all night and you wake up and it's morning and you just do your day as normal. And this will be great. I feel like we're going to need to run a PSA. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration.
So you're going to have to do
not attempt at home.
a drug, pharmaceutical drug commercial where it's the entirety of the commercial is just side effects.
Yeah. Side effects may include drowsiness, which is what we want. Drowsiness, nausea, vomiting, heartburn, diarrhea.
In some cases, death. Often rare, but sometimes reported.
Yeah, guys, don't follow my advice. So anyways. In the
same vein of too many races on the track and rearranging the calendar, Otmar recently came out as well and said that he thinks that the 3-week break between Australia and Azerbaijan should become a permanent part of the calendar. And he said, quote, "I think this break, although not planned, in a calendar that has 23 races and a lot of back-to-backs and triple headers, it's nice to have a 3-week break. Now, a 3-week break in August and then a break at Christmas. Maybe if it's just by luck that we gain the knowledge that it's good to do it this way, maybe it should be by design in the future." And he says, "I know that the season has just started, but it's not just about the start of the season. A lot of people have worked hard over the winter preparing the car for testing and then the races. Now to have a bit of a break, it just helps you with what's coming up. And then in August, you have another break. It might be a way forward." So I thought this was interesting for them to consider having a spring break, a winter break, and or a spring break, a summer break, and a winter break. And I think it makes sense. I mean, we're struggling with this 3-week break.
Yeah.
But again, coming from Australia, that's such a big time zone jump. So yeah. I do think it makes a little bit of sense.
No, I think so too. And I mean, when you first started to say, I was like, that's so weird to have a break right after the first race of the season, but Australia is not the first race of the season anymore. Which I also, going back to Drive to Survive, that was the weird thing for the first couple seasons, is Melbourne, it's the start of the season, everyone's so excited. And I was like, that's crazy that's what that was for a while. Cause I'm it's not like that anymore. It's Australia is just another race on the calendar. But I feel before, going to Melbourne was such a huge deal because it was the first race.
Yeah.
And I kind of miss that. I kind of miss when that was big start of the season, you know?
Well, they changed it to be with testing because obviously we don't test in Spain anymore. We always test in
Bahrain.
Yeah, Bahrain, which is now the first race, because I think it was one of those moments where they tried to kind of cut down on travel, where they're okay, we're just going to have all of the cars be in the same spot and not have to force people to travel back and forth between these different
I mean, it makes
races.
sense.
So
I just kind of miss the vibes of Melbourne being the first race.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, who's to say? Did you see all the drama and videos that came out of the Australian Grand Prix? And people were stealing the marshal's equipment and running on the track after the cars passed for the last lap. It was crazy. And we talk a lot of shit about how Americans are unhinged and not well behaved, but I was that's a little bit of crazy behavior happening over in Australia.
That's a little bit of crazy behavior.
Someone was really showcasing the fact that they were a nation of prisoners. I was
Stop.
Jesus Christ.
Dead. That's incredible.
So
yeah, man,
who's to
I don't
say?
know.
People are we're going to lose Australia. And I'm maybe, maybe not. I don't know. We'll see.
We'll see. That's all we can do is we're just
not oracles. We could consult the stars. Let's do a birth chart for the Australian Grand Prix and see what it says.
That's what we'll do. We're on it, guys. We will be predicting the future race calendar based on the stars in the sky. This podcast is going to get so witchy so fast from the beginning. All of a sudden, it's literally just going to be us just only making predictions based on
we got a crystal ball.
We're going to just be doing palmistry. Could happen. Never say never.
Yeah, it's not out of the realm of possibility, I think, at this point. So,
yeah. All right. I would like to talk about something.
Please.
So I think you and I have been doing a lot of, once again, predictions about the future of Red Bull and who the second driver on the Red Bull team could be. And I think we are both thinking, you know, will it continue to be Checo? Because he's been a really good teammate to Max and kind of has like understood his position, or he seems to be pushing the boundaries a little bit. So is it going to be Danny? I saw some rumors like that Christian Horner specifically brought Danny back as third driver
to get him back in the car.
Like, no, to be a little bit of a warning to Checo. To be like, because remember at the end of last season, Checo was like, I want to be a champion. I want to be a champion. I don't want to just be second driver.
Yeah.
And then that's when they announced that Danny was coming back. And so some people are like, oh, Christian brought Danny back as like a, you want to drive, do as we say, or we can easily replace you with Danny. Like,
I know, but then
then
that makes me so fucking mad because what Danny's just gonna, like, Danny wants to be a championship winner and he's just gonna have to put up again with being Max's second fiddle.
I mean,
and it's
we know that that's what he's gonna have to do.
It's just so dumb.
Yeah,
like this is why I wish he hadn't gone back to fucking Red Bull, because it's like you're not gonna win.
No, you're not. You're not gonna be a champion. They don't actually want that for you. Like, so that was an interesting thing that I saw. But then Franz Toast came out and said he thinks that Yuki is looking like a sure, like he's gonna be Checo's replacement in 2025. He's like, Yuki's making a lot of great progress, and I think I see his future as replacing Checo in 2025 once I think like their contracts and stuff are up. But I was like,
even though Helmut Marko said that Yuki needed mental health, like help, psychiatric help.
Yeah. Like, so yeah, which I was like, this is very interesting because I feel like we're getting two different opinions from two different sides of Red Bull.
Maybe by then Helmut Marko will be dead.
Hopefully. What? Who said that? But I also am like very happy about that for Yuki, because I think he's gotten a lot of shit in the past couple of years about how he needs to get better and he needs to be better. But like to have that from his team boss, like saying like he's making a lot of improvements and he thinks he could make that step up, I think is pretty big for him. So I feel like the future of the second Red Bull seat is so up in the air. Like anything could happen. And I feel like it's going to be something so out of like left field.
Yeah. Well, I saw an interview with Checo too, where he was like, no, Max and I have a lot of respect and maturity towards each other. So like, unless that changes, like, I don't imagine our driving situation to change. And I was like, gun to his head. They're like, you're going to
literally
say this about your Max relationship. But
yeah,
heavy Red Bull tones today in the
yeah.
Because like Alex Albon recently addressed in an interview the long-standing suggestion that Red Bull designs their challengers to suit Max Verstappen, which he said is a misconception. So basically the fact that a second driver is basically there to just support Max. Obviously, we've talked about this before. And we have our own theories, but he argues that the challenge for Verstappen teammate is to also extract what Max can from the Red Bull car. Since he's doing most of the heavy lifting, it's only natural that the team follow his lead on development. So, I mean, again, I think that's another one of those gun to your heads type quotes where he was like, you know, contracted to never speak ill about Red Bull.
He signed an NDA when they let him go. That's for sure.
They were basically like non-compete. You cannot talk ill about Red Bull. And so I think it's just one of those situations where he was like, y'all have it twisted. Max is just the best. And like, he does a lot to help the car. And like, no one can really do as well as Max can. And so it's kind of like, okay, sure. But I also don't think that Red Bull lets their drivers really drive each other.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of like, it's not black and white. And there's a lot of nuance probably and politics behind the scenes that we're just not necessarily getting a preview of.
Yeah, totally. Also along these lines, like speaking about Danny at Red Bull and how he's kind of doing there, Ted Kravitz came with like the saddest thing this week. He was saying that he thinks that Danny should stay off the pit wall during races. He said he looked to be hating it, and he cut a sad figure on the pit wall because he misses F1 so much. And he was saying that like nobody, like everyone in the paddock loves Danny. They're all so happy to have him back, but no one wants to see him like looking upset. And like everyone just loves Danny so much. It's like adorable. But he was like, you know, the first couple races, Danny wasn't really there.
Yeah.
But then he was back and he was sitting on the pit wall, and that was like almost, I feel like he was saying like too close for comfort. Like Danny was too close to the action, too close to like, you know, so close you can touch it, but not actually being able to do it. And he was like, I think he's just got to like keep his distance a little bit and not get like so close where you're on the pit wall watching people do what you want to do. Like that's just going to be like too hard.
Yeah. I don't know. It's tough. I think, is he going to suck it up and like be around and like prove his loyalty to Red Bull
and like choose a little bit, maybe get another seat somewhere,
right? Or does he kind of like just remove himself and he's only there when asked to be there?
I mean, I think that even Ted was saying like be in the garage, like be like in the paddock, like but just don't put yourself on the pit wall where you're like that close. I
think also like because they cut to Danny a lot, I think he was also like put on the spot to like have to be in a chipper mood for the cameras.
Yeah, totally. I don't know. Danny, I feel like Red Bull right now is such an enigma because it's just like truly what's kind of going on there. Like no one really knows what the status of the driver lineup is. Like, are they truly happy with their lineup? Are they bringing Danny in? Do they want someone else? Like, are they just going to keep it? And I think just Danny being there is like such a question mark too. It's like, what's the plan? What are we doing with Danny? Like, what is Danny's purpose here? Obviously, he's like creating content for them, but like, and helping to develop.
He should change his
like,
LinkedIn title, to be content creation at Red Bull.
But it's like, what's the future? Like, I want to know like what Christian's plan is, and like, I'm sure they've kind of discussed it. I feel like that would be the only way that Danny would really go back is like if they like talked about a plan for him. But like, what is that? And like, is he developing the car, but they're also developing him to like get back in the car? Or like, does Christian have like his ears with like to a different team and like working that? I don't know. Like, I want to know so bad. Like, what's happening at Red Bull?
Well, I know like there's been some rumblings about like how Nick DeVries is not like stacking up against Yuki, even though he came in as like a very, you know, anticipated driver, and like there's a lot of eyeballs on him. Like, is it a potential move for them to oust Nick DeVries at the end of the season and put in Danny? Who's to say? I feel like there's a lot of potential moves, but like, no way Danny would have been a third driver without some sort of carrot that was like, at some point we can angle you back into a Formula One seat.
Exactly. So I don't know. It's all up in the air, but I mean, Christian is like doubling, tripling down on how happy he is to have Danny back.
Yeah.
Like, how much they love Danny and how like it's the best thing in the world that he's back, and he's like shitting on Zach and McLaren like at the same time. Like he's like overdoing it, which I'm like, what's your plan? Like what is doing? Like what is the end game here? Because I have to know, because you're like overdoing it.
Yeah. Like we didn't talk about this last week, but like I think at one of the press conferences for Australia, Christian literally turns to Zach and he's like, yeah, I don't know what you guys have been doing to Danny, but when we got him back, like we had to bulk him up a little bit because he was certainly too skinny and sad. And then and then he recently was like, also, I don't know what was going on at McLaren because like Danny had a lot of driving habits that were not how he used to drive at Red Bull, and like it must have been a product of how bad the car was, because like he just had to, you know, kind of fit into whatever driving style they forced him into, and it was just not great. And I was just like, Christian is just flaming McLaren,
literally
flaming Zach Brown. And
say what you want about Christian, but I love him for that.
I was like, I talk a lot of shit about Christian on this podcast and like in just general, and I think he earned a little place in my heart after those comments. So
yeah,
we'll see what Danny's future holds at Red Bull, but at least one thing is certain: Christian loves Danny, I think, almost as much as he loves Max.
Yeah.
And I think that's pretty clear.
And I think distance make the heart grow fonder on that. Yeah. Like, I think losing Danny, like, he knows what he lost.
Yeah, exactly.
If you love them, you have to let them go. And then, but if it's meant to be, they'll come back. And I think Christian's like, it's meant to be. Like, he came back to me.
He came back to me.
Nicole, may I just say that your hair is looking absolutely luscious today?
Oh my God, thank you. It's because Wella Professionals just released its most luxurious hair care line, Ultimate Repair.
Heck yeah, they did. Wella's new line, Ultimate Repair, is its most premium line to date and takes the brand's 140 years of experience and research to deliver a product that transforms hair in only 90 seconds.
Exactly. And to put that into F1 terms, a 90-second hair transformation is like what? The world's fastest pit stop.
And all the other leave-in treatments I've ever tried are like Valtteri Bottas' 2021 Monaco pit stop that lasted 43 hours.
Literally, I'm really obsessed with this product and love that it can repair my hair damage in like 90 seconds with less breakage and smoother hair. It feels so incredible and makes me feel so confident when I leave the house.
Yeah, like if you saw Daniel Ricciardo on the streets today, he would absolutely fall in love with you because of how incredible your hair looks.
I mean, obviously. Some other great facts about this line of products is that the entire line includes alpha hydroxy acid that rebuilds your hair bonds from the inside, and omega-9, which replenishes outside layers and smooths hair. Plus, they use patented technology so you won't get this level of care anywhere else.
If you want your hair to look as good as Nicole's does today, you can purchase Ultimate Repair Miracle Hair Rescue at Ulta now. You can also go to Wella.com, that's WELLA.com, to learn more.
Okay, another thing on this list, and, this is maybe a little disheartening, but Charles had to put out a statement in 3 languages on his story that asked fans to please stop coming to his home and ringing his doorbell.
It's so sad to me.
I just want to know if when he signed his first F1 contract that he thought that he was going to have to be like an international pop star and need like
Harry Styles
legitimate security to follow him around everywhere he went.
Like, it's so sad. I'm like, come on, people. Like, here's the thing. Is that, like, I barely go up to people I know's house and ring the doorbell. Like, I don't like to go up to, like, people's homes that I know and ring their doorbell unannounced. Like, I'm coming over. Is that cool? Like, are you sure that's okay? Like, I'm never going to go up to... Ding Dong Ditch was, like, the scariest thing in the entire world to me. To go up to a celebrity's home and ring the doorbell, the audacity.
And to just be
the audacity. Like, what did you expect?
They're gonna come to the door and then be happy to see me when I ask them to sign an autograph? Like
what goes through your brain? Like, what do you think is gonna happen? What do you expect? What do you want out of this scenario?
I'm sorry. Be like a fucking normal person and know where they live and then hang out in the area around and then casually bump into them as if you spend a lot of time there all of the time.
Exactly. Like,
okay,
that's
be
how I know
so
that these
fucking
people,
for real.
That's how I know these people are not fangirls, because we would never. Because the number one meet cute is that you meet in a random place and you pretend you don't know who they are.
Literally.
You don't go to their home and ring their doorbell. Like, what do people think is going to happen? Like, it's just like, it blows my mind. Honestly, in general, anyone comes to my door and rings my doorbell
I'm not answering.
I'm never going to answer. And it might even be someone I know. Like, if my mom comes to my door and rings the doorbell unannounced, I'm like, what are you doing here? Like, why would you not tell me you're coming? If I was a celebrity, it was a random ass person that's been stalking me enough to know where I live. No, I'm calling the police.
Yeah. Like, leave me alone.
People's brains are so interesting to me because I just really want to know what you thought was going to happen. Like, I would love to know the thought process, and I would love to know, like, when you woke up that day, how you envisioned the day going. Like, how you envisioned Googling his, like, finding his address, getting in the car, being like, I'm going to Charles Leclerc's house. He doesn't know me, but I'm going to go. Like, and then from there you get there. And then your next thought is not, maybe I shouldn't do this. It's, I'm going to go up to his door. And then the next is, let me ring the doorbell. What was the next thing? Like, what did you think was going to happen from there?
One, it's kind of crazy that Charles does not live in a building that has, like, a doorman. And you can just ring his doorbell from the street level.
Yeah.
That seems a little crazy to me. Two, do you think these people, like, live in Monaco? How do they know where he lives? Is this information on the internet?
Well, he's being freaking doxxed. Like, someone posted about it somewhere.
Well, I mean, you and I spent
a good amount of time.
I was unemployed. At this point in my life, I was unemployed and I was pretty bored. And Charles had posted a view of his home. And I said, I bet you I can find that on Google Maps. And I did. And I found it. So do I also know where Charles Leclerc lives? Maybe. Has he moved in the past 2 years? Also maybe. I'm unsure. But I'm not keeping up with that anymore. So I don't know. But I would also never go to his home. That's creepy.
Like, just like... I'm like, how did you feel?
Be like a normal person and go on the celebrity bus tour in LA where they drive you around celebrities' homes and you just look at them from the street.
Like, I just, like, really, it just blows my mind. Like, it blows my mind. Like, it had to have been Google Maps kid. He's the only one that could do it. Him and his tricks. Like, who else is leaking this? Like, who's leaking? It's Charlotte.
It's Alex Albon because
all of
he's
his
always on the maps. I accidentally posted a screenshot. It's got a pin with Charles' house on it. Charlotte, yeah, she fucked off to New York and said, I'm dropping Charles's address.
I'm doxing. She's detoxing and she's doxing. Like,
she's just sending fans to him to just drive him nuts at all hours of the day. She's just paying people to be like, please ring Charles's doorbell at 3 a.m. 17 times.
Every hour on the hour.
Tell him it was me.
I want him to know it was me. I would love more information into this topic. So if you were one of the people that went to Charles Leclerc's home and rang the doorbell, please write into us. We'll have you on the podcast next week to discuss your mental state and your thought process. I'd love to know.
Just love to know more.
Would need to know more. Yeah. So outside of Charles being stalked like Harry Styles, and this actually kind of goes back to what we were saying earlier, like at the very beginning about Roman Grosjean, just absolutely crashing the Haas all the time and probably racking up a huge bill.
They can't escape this.
So did baby Mick Schumacher. He racked up a $3 million damage bill, which for any team is probably not that bad, but for Haas,
they lost their title sponsor and basically had to go no money for the entire season.
And Mick just said yeet 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 into the wall.
He said, Gunther basically revealed this in his upcoming book.
Like, literally, we're doing a book club for this book.
Yeah, we are.
We're absolutely doing a book club, and we're gonna get Gunther on the book club. You heard it here first, guys. We're getting Gunther to come discuss. We're doing a fireside chat with Gunther Steiner for surviving to drive a year inside Formula One.
Like, why is it only 1 year? It's only the past year?
Which year?
All of your years? Which year is it?
I need to know.
Anyway, we'll find out at some point. But Gunther basically followed up and he was like, when there was one crash when Mick basically did $700,000 in damage, he just broke the whole car. And Gunther was like, for fuck's sake, imagine how many people I could pay with $700,000 on this team. We don't have any money and now I have to go find $700,000 to be able to fix it. And then he talks about the one time he's like, he crashed the car on the fucking in-lap. The in-lap on the way to the pit lane. Like, he wasn't even racing anymore and he fucked up the car. And it's just like, so funny. But then he goes on to say, it's not Mick's fault that we are where we are. We have ourselves to blame. And so it's like, obviously Mick had his faults and was not always the best driver, but Gunther could at least admit and was self-aware enough to know that they were dirt poor in F1 terms and just like couldn't handle Mick being a rookie.
They
and
couldn't
those
wait
mistakes.
for him to like get more experience too. Yeah, I mean, they needed like more experienced drivers that at least if they crash, it's hopefully not really their fault.
Yeah. Like, it's not driver's ed. This is not in the parking lot of your high school where you can just crash into the cones whenever you want. They were like, we need you to drive in a clean line, please. just once.
Just once. Yeah. Well, I, for one, am excited for this book, and I can't wait for our book club, and I can't wait for our fireside chat.
With the boss baby himself.
With the boss baby himself. I'm making you t-shirts. We're doing this in person, too, obviously. It has to be next to a real fireside chat. Maybe he'll invite us to his home in North Carolina to do it.
I think
sit around the fire pit with him. Go on his boat.
We'll say, can you please call Gene? Can you conference call him in, Gene? It's Gunther.
Okay. Goals. This has to happen. Okay. Please tell me about this next one, because this is the longest bullet point that I've ever seen, and I couldn't even get myself to read it.
It was all very important, so I couldn't leave any of it out. Okay, so FIA press conference host Tom Clarkson has suspicions that Lewis Hamilton is playing, quote, mind games with George Russell at Mercedes, which I saw this headline and I said, tell me more right now. Say more right now, because I'm not believing it.
Yeah.
And he says he wonders if Hamilton is already planting the seeds by lulling his teammate into a false sense of security. Quote, in the press conference in Australia, after qualifying, they'd qualified second and third in Melbourne, Max, of course, on pole. And every time a question was posed to both the Mercedes drivers, Lewis was quite happy for George to answer the question. He almost became the spokesperson for the team in that press conference, and I was interested as to why Lewis was happy to just sit back and let that happen. I don't know whether he's sort of keeping his powder dry, or is he trying to sort of give him a sort of false hope of being the dominant person? And then he's going to really hit him hard where it matters most on the stopwatch later on. I don't know what his thought process was, but it was interesting anyway to observe that he very much let George be the man. And I was like,
diabolical. That would be diabolical.
I was like, that seems, one, so evil past Lewis's kind of mindset. Two, what is the point of that? Because it's like, he's just making George think that he's better than him, but like, he's gonna make up the points later. Like, how is this like actually like gonna work out in his favor?
Yeah, like, that's kind of the opposite of what would happen, because I feel like if you give someone a false sense of security, usually like they perform better. Like, let me bring this into terms that I will understand, which is in Harry Potter, number 6, Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince. Harry has a bottle of Felix Felicis, which is the good luck potion. Ron is the keeper on the Gryffindor Quidditch team. He's very nervous about his game, and he doesn't think he's going to do well. It's a very big game. So Harry pretends to put the good luck potion in his drink. So Ron thinks he's drank that and then goes to win the game. And Harry's like, I didn't actually give it to him. He only thought he had it, and he performed. So if that's what Lewis is doing, he's giving him the metaphorical good luck potion,
which is only going to encourage him to do better.
That would only make George, act better.
Yeah.
I guess in that case, Harry wasn't then trying to beat Ron.
Sabotage him. Yeah, I guess. But it's also like, maybe it's just that Lewis is tired of answering questions because he's been doing this so long, and George is like willing to speak up and like have his moment in the sun, and Lewis is like, fine. Like, I don't understand how press conference conversations and George generally doing better on the track than Lewis really plays out here. But Tom, as two girls who generally like to start rumors and make something out of nothing, I appreciated this.
Yeah, I appreciate it
so much for digging deep and causing drama, because that's what we live for.
That is what we live for. Thank you to Tom for his contribution.
Thank you, Tom, for your submission this week for an agenda item.
I'm obsessed. Okay, well, only time will tell if Lewis is being super witchy and diabolical.
We'll have to check back in.
Okay, super excited for this little segment we're gonna do.
I figured we haven't done something like this in a while.
We haven't, and it feels like a good boring week to do so.
Yeah.
And thank God I caught it all up on Succession yesterday.
Yes. Now, we won't say any spoilers, but hopefully at this point you've watched it. It's how can you have avoided the internet this long? So we won't say anything about that, about the plot point that happens this week. The
plot thickens.
But we wanted to just have a little bit of discussion about which characters on the grid reflect characters in Succession. Because I think this is a fun little thought experiment.
So fun. This is so fun. Obviously, Gunther is Logan Roy.
Okay.
Fuck is the only word that they use.
Okay. All right. That's fair. I was going to say, I definitely think it's Christian.
Is Logan?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Because I think that he
Realistically,
yes. Because he wants to win at any cost and is willing to break the rules to do so. And I think he'll be very shady about it.
Yeah.
Like, I think you want to say that Toto could be Logan, but, like, I think that Toto's not diabolical enough to be Logan.
Toto is more like Nan from Pierce Media. Because he's, like, doing kind of the same thing, but he's just a little bit more, like, poised.
Yeah.
And will still get the upper hand sometimes, but you don't really know what they're thinking.
Yeah.
But yeah, Christian is definitely Logan. Especially, like, Logan is always swapping out who's going to take over the company. He's like, which of my kids is going to be, like, the next CEO? Who knows? I can't decide. It's you. No, just kidding. It's you. And that's Christian with his second driver.
Yeah. I will say that I think George is Shiv.
Oh.
Because Shiv so desperately wants to prove to Logan that she's capable. And she's always there. I think it could be he could be Shiv or Tom, because he, like, is always, like, trying to prove himself and prove that he is, like, the right person for the job to everyone, and, like, is always kind of there. And obviously we've joked about George being, like, the head boy and, like, kind of, like, head of their group chat. And I think that just is kind of, like, always volunteering for the job is giving very Shiv and Tom energy.
Yeah, I don't think George is as cutthroat as Shiv is. Well, Shiv will fuck you over.
Maybe if he knows that Lewis is playing mind games with him.
Lewis is Shiv. And George is Tom.
Fair enough.
Okay, let's see here.
I think Alonso is a little bit of Roman. I think he's just, like, a little bit of a wild card and also kind of cutthroat, but in his own way. Like, I don't think he generally plays by the rules, but, like, he does what he needs to do to get shit done.
Okay. I think Lance is Roman.
Oh, okay.
Because you never totally know. I feel like you never know where Roman stands. Like, you're like, okay, he's totally on, like, Kendall and Shiv's side or Kendall's side. Like, he's totally there. But then he's secretly, like, still talking to Logan. Okay. And you're just kind of always like, where do his allegiances lie? And it's always kind of with his dad. And he, like, really, like, is, like, his dad needs him and he's going to be there. He's the only one, very minor plot point, y'all. He's the only one that texted his dad happy birthday.
Right.
They all decided they weren't, and he still did. And I feel like he's, like, a daddy's boy, but also, like, he's, like, sneaky where, like, he's going to be okay. And he's always going to choose the side that wins, but he's not, like, you just never totally know where he stands. Kendall is very out in the open where he stands, what he's doing, who he's with, who he's not with. Shiv also kind of behind the scenes, you never totally know where she stands, but she's way more vocal about it. Where Roman is very much more like, I'll agree with you, and I'll agree with you, I'll agree with you, and I'll agree with you. And I feel like that's very Lance, where, like, he's like, I'm always going to be with my dad, but you're like, but you never totally know where he stands. Where he's like, could he go to a different team?
That's why I'm thinking it could be Alonso, like, because you never really know what's up his sleeve. Yeah. And he's always looking out for himself at the end of the day.
But I also think Lance gives off way more energy of, like, I don't care.
Yeah. Like,
Roman gives off, like, the haha, like, I'm joking, I don't really care, like, none of this really matters to me. And I feel like that's very Lance, where he's just kind of like, especially even right now, he's like, Alonso's the star, like, whatever, like, I don't really need to, like, say anything. Like, he's never, like, going out there to, like, say things to the press or, like, do anything on social media to get attention. Like, he's much more, like, in the background. And I feel like that's Roman, where he's like, I don't really care. but I'm just gonna get my shit done and like
That's
do
fair.
what is best for me.
I hear you. I feel like I'm trying to decide if I think Carlos is Greg.
I was gonna say that too, just on vibes alone.
Just
truly.
on vibes alone, I think, because it's, you know, they're always kind of making fun of Greg for being like aloof and like never really knowing what's going on and kind of like being being on the outside kind of. And not that Carlos is like on the outside, but obviously Carlos has no idea what his face looks like when he's on camera, and I think he just gives kind of this like aloofness that cousin Greg also gives.
Yeah.
But I don't think Issa would ever bring a ludicrously capacious bag.
Absolutely not.
To an event. So
Never. Never.
She would never be caught dead.
I think Lewis is Kendall.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, well, that really got you though. Like,
well, because I was thinking about Kendall singing the song L to the OG, and then I was thinking
the OG, literally, like,
and I was thinking about Lewis because he would probably be to like T to the OT.
T to the OT. Yeah, like, I just think that, like, Kendall takes himself so seriously.
Yeah.
And so does Lewis. And they both are, like, Kendall goes through all of these different, like, eras of his life. And he has ones where he's like, I'm super motivational and I'm working out and I'm, like, having my green juice and I'm, like, running and I'm, like, doing all this stuff. And I feel like that's very Lewis. And I also feel like what I said, Kendall is black and white. You know, like, what you see is what you're going to get with Kendall. He's, like, I feel like he has a certain idea of like morals, of like, I will not be treated like this, or like this is what's right and this is what's wrong. And he knows when he crosses those lines, like he knows when the things he's doing are right and wrong. But he also is very always open to telling people when they are right or when they are wrong, or being like, my dad disrespected me and so I'm gonna kill him. Like, I feel like he's very much like that. And I think that that's also Lewis, where he's like, I know what's right and wrong, and I'm going to talk about it, and you can't really change my mind. But also, if he does something that he has previously said is wrong,
yeah,
especially like in racing, like he's very quick to say like, so-and-so did this, like they did this wrong, like that shouldn't be allowed. But like, then he'll do stuff like that and be like, oh, what?
Yeah. No, I agree.
I think he's very Kendall in that way, and also very much cares about like what he's wearing,
right,
and all of that, and that's
how he's perceived, too. And like, yeah, and does everyone like him? And yeah. Absolutely. Now, I'll say that I think Max is Conor.
Really? Oh my god, that's like the opposite of who I was going to say.
Because Conor has the most severe daddy issues out of them all, because his dad like just doesn't respect him or love him with anything that he does. And so that's why I give him Conor vibes. But I'm willing to be persuaded.
Okay, I was going to say Nico Hulkenberg.
Okay.
Just the constant sub. He has never...
easily forgettable.
He's never gotten on the podium. He's been there for so long. He's always trying. He's not there, but he's dependable. Like, if you needed him, he's going to be there. He's going to, like, show up. He's, bounced between teams. He's always being the sub when they need him. But, like, no one ever really remembers Nico Hulkenberg. And it's really sad. And, he tries really hard, and he loves what he's doing. But it's just kind of like, you're at Haas. Like, this is your 1%.
Yeah.
In the polls. And I think that that's, like, very Conor, because he is always trying, and he wants to be, like, that person for people. And he's always like, what do you need? Like, I'll be there. What can I do? Like, oh, Wella, I will literally fund your entire life if you just, like, care about me a little bit. And, like, I don't know. I feel like those are the vibes.
That's respectable. I hear that argument, and I do agree with it.
I have another Roman contender.
Okay.
Lando Norris. Because I think also gives the same kind of, like, I don't care vibes, but also, like, is quick to just kind of, like, I don't know, like, I think about how he was when Danny was on the team, and he's very much like, I don't know, I just feel like he can be a little sneaky, like, and condescending, and Roman likes to make other people feel bad about themselves to make himself feel better.
Yeah.
And I think that Lando does that sometimes.
Okay.
And I think Lando's funny, and I think Roman's funny, and I think they like kind of bring the comedic relief sometimes.
Yeah, I get it.
Different vibes.
I think Otmar's Jerry.
Okay.
Just because Otmar had to put up with Lawrence Stroll for so long and like kind of got like strung along, and then finally like obviously he quit, but I feel like he was probably pushed out a little bit by Lawrence. And so I feel like that's kind of, he's giving Jerry vibes for me.
Yeah, that's very fair.
Or Cyril. Cyril's also could be Jerry as well.
Cyril. I'm trying to think of who I think is Tom. Tom is my favorite. I love Tom so much. He's just so embarrassing. Zach Brown is Tom.
I was thinking Zach, but I was also thinking it could be a little bit like K-Mag, because Tom he's only there because Shiv married him.
Yeah.
And he is clearly very not like unconfident about his space in ATN, and always has to push to be like, okay, but what about me? Like, what about me? And I think K-Mag now being back is kind of like, they were kind of like grasping at straws for someone to fill Nikita Mazepin, and like K-Mag's number came up. And so I feel like he's kind of on the edge of like, I feel like he could stay or he could go depending on how he actually performs. And I feel like that's kind of how Tom has been, where he's like always on the edge of like teetering of making sure that Logan is not mad at him.
Okay, that's fair. I would say Zach, because I think, like you said, Tom is only really there because he married Shiv, and I think Zach's only really there because he is like the CEO, but he like always wants to prove that he's like, I'm the CEO, like I'm not just a CEO, I'm a cool CEO, and like I'm fun and I'm cool and I'm like hip with the people. I'm gonna bring James Corden in, even though like no one likes James Corden. Like he's just like tries so hard but like misses the mark. And I think Tom tries really hard, but he's constantly missing the mark. Like when he was like, I got Logan this watch, and Logan's like, I don't give a fuck. Like I feel like that's like Zach with all of his like podium challenges and podium prizes for his drivers. He's like, look how cool I am. I'm gonna let you drive one of my cars if you get on the podium. Where it's like, they're F1 drivers, like they should be getting on the podium. Like they should be do that. You're doing this to distract us from the fact that like your car's not good enough to be on the podium. Exactly. Where I feel like it's like all like a light show. What is that? Like a
smoke and mirrors.
Smoke and mirrors. Like what am I trying to think of with a pony? A dog and pony show? Is that a thing? Is that
that's a thing?
Prank?
Yeah.
Okay. I like couldn't think of what I was thinking of. But I feel like that's very much it with Zach, where he's like, look at all these cool things. I have Dale Earnhardt Jr.'s car, and I like am a McLaren boss, so we're gonna do all these fun social media things to like distract you from the fact that like we're doing really bad. And that's Tom, where he's like, I'm gonna do all this stuff and like try really hard so that you don't realize that I like don't actually really know what I'm doing.
I hear that. I feel like we've covered all the major characters.
I don't really know anyone else that we could talk about.
We've got Carl and Frank, but like I don't really. Carrie.
Right.
But I think we've covered Wella, but I don't feel like anyone's really Wella.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that was fun. I love Succession.
That was fun. And I love that show.
That it's in its last season. If you haven't watched it, highly recommend.
Highly recommend. It is the best show on television.
It is so good. Soundtrack's phenomenal. It's just perfect.
Perfect in every way. You do have to get through the first like 3 episodes, I feel like, to really like be hooked.
Yeah.
It's kind of tough because it's a lot and it's kind of heavy. But once you get past like, once you're like, you just kind of have to binge the first 3 and then you'll be in it.
Yeah. Agreed.
All right. Time for the girls' room.
Take it away, Kate.
So I feel like weirdly Easter was like a huge content day, and I was like not expecting that.
Yeah.
Like I didn't know Easter was like the day to share content, but everyone was posting content together. Lily and Alex posted a very cute thing. They've been in Hawaii together. Carmen posted a whole carousel of her spending Easter with the Russells.
It was
we got
just like so British core.
So British. So like British countryside.
Yeah.
Like
with the little lambs, and I was like, oh, I'm sick.
Literally. And they had like matching beanies on. And George was wearing cargo pants. And I was like, I'm weak right now.
I'm into
wearing
it.
Like, I was really into it. And I was like, I don't know why you're pulling off the cargo pants right now, but you are, George. And it's all thanks to Carmen.
Yeah.
I think we've talked about this before, but there's still rumors about Charles' new girlfriend. Looks exactly like Charlotte. TBD. Some people are saying that it's real and she's been around a lot, and some people are saying it's not that serious. I, for one, was shocked that she didn't show up in Australia because he really loves to debut new girlfriends at the Australian Grand Prix.
Well, I will laugh. I was reading a little bit of an article about like who she is, and they were like, and she's like kind of famous on TikTok. She has 18,000 followers. And I was like, 18,000 followers on TikTok? And you expect me to believe that she's famous on TikTok? Nice fucking try. I was like, that's all she has going for her, is that she has 18,000 followers on TikTok.
She's like 21, I think. She's a student. She's an art history major. He's really into the studious women, apparently. So TBD on if we see Alexandra in and around the paddock. You guys know that you'll be the first to know.
We'll be on it.
Nicole, you put everyone is at the beach and I'm upset.
I am. I'm so upset. I keep seeing like everyone's on freaking beach vacations.
Yeah, they are.
Took the holidays and is like still in the tropics. And I'm like, what about me? As you can see, I'm a little sunburned.
You are. I was going to ask if you had hives or if you were sunburnt.
You can get the little dip. That's great. And my nose is a little red. Because I sat outside today because I was just like, I am tired of looking at everyone's beach photos and their little bikinis on the beach with the crystal clear blue water, and I'm not there.
Amen.
So
soon enough.
It was
soon enough.
Mad.
Don't worry.
So I'm tired of seeing wags on beach vacations. Everyone, enough. Okay,
enough.
Get back to work.
Back to work. Issa just like continues to be like my favorite.
What else?
And just like living the life that I wish that we lived together. First of all, obviously she's a Daisy Jones girly. Obviously listening to the river. And I was like, what a good one. That's a good one. That's like one of the best ones. Like, great choice, Issa. Love you. Obsessed with you. Always. Obviously, you know, Nicole, I've been big in on the Daisy Jones train.
Huge. Yeah.
Huge Daisy Jones girl over here. But also, Issa and her best friend, who she does her podcast with, went on just like a little BFF trip to France. And it was just such goals. And I was like, I want that to be
you and me when?
Like, so bad. I was just looking at it with such jealousy. I was like, they like went on like a sponsored trip. They're like doing all these fun things. And she was like, we're me and my podcast co-host. And I was like, okay, when is it my turn?
Who's going to sponsor us to go on a fun little trip together?
I don't care where it is.
We have to Mary Kate and Ashley that bitch.
I have to go on a trip with you. Speaking of trips, Charlotte, I know we like said that we weren't going to talk about her a lot, but no one's really doing that much. And so Charlotte is staying in the girls' room for now. She went to New York City. She was near you. She was in your city by herself with her, or not by herself. She was with their sister and their friend, I think. And now they're in Montreal. And I'm just like, what are you doing? Still a North America tour?
Having a grand old time.
Just curious. Feels super random, but hope she's having a good time. Hope she's having fun. She just continues to cause chaos, though. And I kind of am like on Team Charlotte now because I just am loving the chaos that she's continuing to cause. Like, she just keeps like she posted a photo of like a red car while she's in New York, and she's like, red cars in New York City, and everyone's like, Ferrari, like, and I'm just like, it's so funny to me because she just like, she knows what she's doing.
Yeah.
Every time she does something, and I appreciate that about her.
I do too.
I'm also like really obsessed with Helena lately. Like, I'm finding myself just like being obsessed with her. She posted a video today of her singing while she's like getting ready to go out, and she like loves to sing. She's like just vibing in Paris and Italy, and I just feel like she has not a care in the world about Esteban. Like, she's like, you don't need to know that I'm dating him. No. Like, I'm vibing. I'm having like a hot European girl life right now, and who cares who I'm dating? I don't need
She's
no
like,
man.
Yeah, Esteban is just like, he's there sometimes.
Literally, she's everything. He's just Ken. And she knows that about herself. She knows that about herself. So I'm really vibing with her right now. And then the last thing is that, so Lily and Alex were in Hawaii posting
So
the
cute
cutest photos. Wish I was them. But Lily has a like video camera in one of her photos, and I just like wish that we had vlogger Lily.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I want to vlog.
I would watch her daily TikTok vlogs every day. What she ate, what she put on, what she did that day. Please, I just need it all.
And that about wraps up the girls' room. The girlies are living right now.
The girlies are girling.
That's the basis of the girls' room. Is the girls are living.
They're thriving.
Yeah,
and I love that for them.
I wish it was me, but we'll get there.
We'll get there eventually.
Okay. It's time for Manifest Minute.
Time for Manifest Minute.
And I would like to say thank you to our manifestee this week. Her name is Rebecca. And Rebecca emailed us with urgent manifest request in the subject line. And so we knew that this was time sensitive. And so she was bumped up to the top of the list. So once again, if you have something that you would like our manifesting powers, please email us 2girls1formula@gmail.com or go to our website 2girls1formula.com and submit it in our little contact box. And please always give us a time frame when, if it's a test or like a date associated with it, tell us that so that we can make sure that we are getting to your manifest in a timely fashion.
Absolutely.
Because there are some that we were not able to do because the time has passed, and we don't want to do that. We don't want to leave you guys hanging. So I think I did last week. So Nicole, I'll let you take this one.
All right. So like we said, this week we have Rebecca. Rebecca is taking her MCAT on April 29th, which is your medical school entrance exam for anyone who is unfamiliar or may not have that in their country. And she is stressing about it. It's an 8-hour exam that she's been prepping for months, and she needs to get as much good energy as she possibly can. So she would also like to ask for some good manifesting juju for Ferrari and Lando, since her exam will be the same weekend as the next race. So we love this. She's sharing the wealth of the Manifest Minute. She's not just
thinking about herself. She's also thinking about Ferrari and Lando. And we appreciate that.
So if everyone could please join me in closing their eyes, taking a deep breath in, taking a deep breath out, and imagining Rebecca. She is scribbling away. She is nailing the questions left and right. She feels so confident about it. She knows that she has studied hard. She knows that she is going to crush it. And she feels super confident about every single one of the answers that she puts down on that paper. She walks out of that room after 8 hours. And what does she see? She sees a podium on the street in front of her.
Whoa.
And she is given first place for crushing the MCAT. And who is standing beside her? Charles Leclerc and Lando Norris, because they have also won the weekend.
No, Carlos. Carlos lost.
I went with Charles. I feel like he needs a little confidence boost. He's had a rough couple of goes at it. They're popping champagne. They're spraying it all over each other.
What t-shirt contest?
High-fiving. Because Rebecca has crushed her MCAT and Charles and Lando get a podium. Whether that's second or third, where you can put that in your own mind where you want them to be.
Definitely not first, though, because that's Rebecca.
That's Rebecca's spot. So now let's take a deep breath in, a deep breath out, and open our eyes, and let's just move forward the next week, next couple of weeks with some good
envisioning podiums everywhere.
And podiums left and right. You can stand on one if you would like to, because they're just littering the streets. And just go forward in your day-to-day life with some positive intentions, positive vibes, and keeping Rebecca in your mind's eye, as well as Lando and Ferrari. Unless you're not a fan of them, then I guess you don't want to manifest for them. But please manifest for Rebecca at the very least.
At the very least, please.
Please. Rebecca's getting number one. this on April 29th, and that's a given. So that is our Manifest Minute this week, Rebecca. I hope you enjoy it. We know that you're going to crush it, no doubt about it. And can't wait to hear back from you about how you passed with flying colors.
Tell us about the podium in the middle of the street. Where'd it pop up? All right. That's all she wrote, I think.
That's, I mean, for a slow week, we talked about a lot.
For a slow week. You know, the one thing you can count on from us is no matter what, we are going to talk a lot.
We're going to find something to talk about.
We're going to talk. We're just going to talk.
We'll give you something to talk about.
How about love? Is that how that goes?
I don't know.
Or did I mash? I think I just made a mashup. I think I just remixed.
It's okay. It was glorious.
We got to get out of here. All right. Thank you guys for listening. This has been TG1F, an F1 podcast with Kate and Nicole. We are Kate and Nicole. This has been our show. And until next week, we'll see you on the internet. Bye.